You may have seen memes coming out of the SCO Summit, but here is what it really signals. Neighbors with long-standing disputes are showing muscle under the guise of unity, positioning themselves as a counterweight to the West. Think of it like a family gathering. Everybody suited up, laughing and posing for photos. But behind these smiles, disputes that go back decades. Still, this signals an evolving global order. So what is this SCO where the frenemies met? Let me explain. SCO stands for Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which began in 2001. It's an alliance of Eurasian countries aligning on politics, economics, and security meant to promote cooperation and stability across the region. The SCO has 10 main countries, 6 founding ones: China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, later joined by 4 others: India, Pakistan, Iran, and Belarus. Now this is where it gets awkward because 3 neighbors inside this bloc don't exactly get along. They are India, China, and Pakistan. India and Pakistan's rivalry goes back to the partition, fueled by border disputes and terror attacks. But China and India, 2 of the world's oldest civilizations, have their own issues. The disputes, the border, trade, and Pakistan. The countries share a border of roughly 3,500 km called the Line of Actual Control, and both have had disagreements on who owns which side of it. The dispute might also stem from confusion because much of this border cuts through the Himalayas from the glaciers, snow deserts, and rivers in the west to thick forests and mountains in the east. One example of ownership dispute is Arunachal Pradesh, which China calls southern Tibet and considers a part of its territory, while India recognizes it as one of its federal states. Then there's the Aksai Chin Plateau, which India claims but China controls. In 2020, soldiers from both countries traded blows for the first time since their only war in 1975, and it killed at least 20 Indian and 4 Chinese soldiers. A point of friction was that both competed in building infrastructure along the LAC, and India's road construction to a high-altitude airbase was considered one of the trigger points that brought the soldiers face to face. China saw the road construction as a threat to its territorial claims. About 900 soldiers on both sides fought hand-to-hand since the 1996 agreement prohibits the use of guns and explosives at the border. Border skirmishes led to high emotional currents in India and trickled onto social media as well, with Chinese apps TikTok and online game PUBG being banned. TikTok had more than 200 million users in India, and PUBG had somewhere about 50 million users. The relations between India and China saw a dip on multiple fronts.
Will China allow Indian students to go to China and complete their studies?
Our embassy in Beijing, our consulates, our ministry has been taking up this matter with the relevant authorities in China on numerous occasions since the restrictions were first imposed, as you yourself alluded to. We have highlighted the plight of the students and how the continuation of these stringent restrictions were putting their academic careers, education careers of thousands of students in jeopardy. In fact, External Affairs Minister personally raised this issue with State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi when he met him in Dushanbe in September last year. We have noted the statement made by the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, I think it was on 8th of February, when in response to a query from the Indian media, he said that China is considering in a coordinated manner arrangement for allowing foreign students to return to China for their studies.
Military-level talks about disengagement between India and China went on for 4 years before an agreement was reached in 2024.
Agreement has been arrived at on patrolling arrangements along the line of actual control in the India-China border areas, leading to disengagement and a resolution of the issues that had arisen in these areas in 2020.
On the trade front, India relies heavily on China for pharmaceutical, electronic, and construction material imports, among others. But this trade is heavily skewed in China's favor, as the Indian embassy in China said it has led to the biggest single trade deficit India is running with any country. The embassy noted that Chinese imports overshadowed Indian exports and the imbalance has continuously been widening, reaching about $100 billion. While Chinese goods are said to dominate Indian markets, India mostly exports lower value items. Even for Make in India products, India depends on China for raw materials. Against this backdrop, when leaders of these countries came together for SCO, it became a striking visual. PM Narendra Modi visited China after 7 years. Some moments went viral. For instance, PM Modi and Pakistan PM Shehbaz Sharif came face to face for the first time since the May war between the two countries. Or did they? This visual went viral with Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin engrossed in a dialogue as Sharif followed them with his eyes in the background. Another viral moment coming out of the SCO Summit was Putin, Modi, and Chinese President Xi Jinping sharing lighter moments. India and China also agreed that their common interests outweigh differences.
The common interests of the two countries outweigh their differences, and the two leaders also shared a consensus on the fact that differences should not be allowed to be turned into disputes.
So does this mean SCO solves their disputes? Not really. India-Pakistan reconciliation looks impossible right now. They fought another war in 2025 after a terror attack in Kashmir's Pahalgam. Meanwhile, Pakistan and China, very close. Some reports say Pakistan used Chinese weapons against India in that conflict.
China and Pakistan are fused like this.
हमें पता है हकीकत है हम इसके साथ डील कर आप हिस्ट्री क्लास में सो रहे थे
You have destroyed the single biggest, most important goal of Indian foreign policy.
Sir, I've only spent 41 years in foreign service.
Then there's the US angle. President Trump slapped 50% tariffs on India for its energy and military ties with Russia. India, China, and Russia aren't just in the SCO. They're also in BRICS, seen as a direct challenge to US dominance. Trump has called the BRICS countries hostile and he's threatened them with 100% tariffs if they push for a common currency to rival the dollar. He said, "We're going to require a commitment from these seemingly hostile countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs." To give you some perspective, all of the BRICS countries together represent about half the world's population and 25% of global exports. BRICS has also explored alternative payment systems and discussed a common currency to facilitate trade among its members in local currencies, a move Trump sees as an attack on the dollar's status as the global reserve currency. Now, with India, Russia, and China's representation at SCO, Trump's trade advisor Peter Navarro also criticized India for her closeness to Russia and China.
It was a shame to see Modi getting in bed as the leader of the biggest democracy in the world with the two biggest authoritarian dictators in the world, in Putin and Xi Jinping. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure what he's thinking, particularly since India has been in a Cold War and sometimes a hot war with China for decades.
At the SCO, the member countries signed a declaration highlighting several things, including their opposition to unilateral tariffs, even though they didn't name the US or Trump. Jinping platformed the desire for a new global order with Global South leadership. This year's SCO Summit was the largest so far, with leaders from across Asia coming together. What's sure is that this show of camaraderie is creating ripples, but how long will they endure? And will TikTok be finally back in India? Let's wait and watch. I'm Hamna Hissam Siddiqui, and I bring to you the news of the week with Brut.